You introduced generative AI as a service on a stage effectively with Google Cloud, GCP, and the crew from LangChain, Harrison Chase.
We started to say, okay, what if we create something that we will call Gen AI as a service, which is more or less everything a user will be able to do in L'Oréal GPT, accessible for an IT guy as an API. Here we have 60K unique users, 45K of them are coming back every month, and 15K of them are coming on a daily basis.
Wow.
So every day we have 15,000 unique users sending messages. An employee sending a prompt on L'Oréal GPT, it's a personal data of the employee. And so are people looking at what employees are sending? And so we have always to answer to those questions, to say, okay, to reassure people to say, nobody is looking at your prompts. L'Oréal GPT is transforming the ways of working of the employees.
I am so stoked for this interview. Welcome everybody to an AI with Alex session that's been a long time coming. This is Thomas Menard. He is the global head of Agentic AI platform and lab at L'Oréal. And there's a backstory to why I've been trying so hard to make this happen. I'm so grateful. Merci that you're here, Thomas, because I know my audience is going to benefit tremendously from hearing from you. So welcome to AI with Alex, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for watching us. And thank you, Alec, for the invitation.
All right, you bet. And you know what's coming, right? So in AI terms, May 2024, give or take, keep me honest, you guys broke AI Twitter, and I was one of the people that got so excited. I fell off my chair. I didn't believe it at the time, actually, but I'm going to frame this for you, and then you get to kind of walk us through this. But you guys, in May of 2024, you introduced generative AI as a service on a stage effectively, correct me if I'm wrong, with Google Cloud, GCP, and the crew from LangChain, Harrison Chase. Yeah. And what you all talked about was you said, and this was, and correct me if I'm wrong, idea to impact in less than 90 days, I believe, for a very large, established, awesome company. And that I'm going to just throw to you to say, hey, is that what happened? And tell us the backstory and generative AI as a service. Like, how did you guys do that?
Yeah. And so to tell you the origin story, at L'Oréal, the digitalization journey started in 2010, more or less. And then in 2014, we created a huge program which is called 2018, sorry, which is called Beauty Tech, because L'Oréal is known everywhere as #1 in cosmetic industry, having 37 brands around the world. But now the idea in 2018 was to see also L'Oréal as a tech company. So this is why we created Beauty Tech. And we decided to do a huge shift to the cloud, so Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud on the other side. All the data is going to GCP, BigQuery, and so on. And as everyone, the journey of AI was starting in this area of 2018-19. But of course, you see the boom of ChatGPT in everyone's eyes, everywhere around the world in October 2012, as an effect on L'Oréal. And so we were asked during summer 2023 to develop an internal ChatGPT app as soon as we can for all the employees around the world, starting September 2023, and so very fast.
Yeah.
And for you to understand, L'Oréal is a big company because we have 100,000 employees, more or less, around the world, in every country of this world, approximately, with 40 factories everywhere. ChatGPT is not secure. Every prompt you are doing can be reused for further training or for marketing stuff, and so on. So nobody is allowed to use ChatGPT at L'Oréal. And so everyone is starting to say, the big hype during summer 2023 was to say, I have a ChatGPT internally speaking. And so at L'Oréal, they said, why not us? We must do the same. And so they came to us to say, okay, what do you need to do this? And to do this for yesterday, as always. And so we answered, and the program started. So from the beginning, we created, so with the idea to say, we will create L'Oréal GPT. And we said, okay, we accept the challenge, but we will raise the bar a little bit higher, because doing a front end on OpenAI APIs is not so complex. And as we are IT guys and we love to do, good things for the company, we started to say, okay, what if we create something that we will call GenAI as a service, which is more or less everything a user will be able to do in L'Oréal GPT, accessible for an IT guy as an API. And to say, okay, you want to do a chat message, we will do a chat API. You want to do RAG will be an API. You will have API to upload files. You will have API to send a message and do RAG and have your completion answer. And we said, okay, so to do this, we need to create a backbone, which we will call the GenAI as a service. And for you to understand, it was at the very, very beginning of the GenAI journey, because back in 2023, finally, it was the very beginning of LangChain. For those who are knowing LangChain, LCEL was not existing in LangChain at that time. And so we started with the very beginning of LangChain on GCP, because we have guys here at L'Oréal, which are the wonderful architects, such as Antoine Castex, that believes in serverless. And so we as our L'Oréal, we are IT guys, but our job is not to do infrastructure. Our job is to deliver value to the business. And if we can avoid having infrastructure, we will have better nights. And we will spend more time delivering business value than configuring machines. And this is why it was natural for us to go to Cloud Run on GCP, because Cloud Run, it scales from 0 to the infinite at the speed of light, and you pay only for what you consume. And so if you consume one instance for 10 seconds, you will only pay for the 10 seconds. And so the adventure, the journey started like this, with a talented team of people with me, to say, okay, we will deliver a L'Oréal GPT portal, but also everything we do must be used by an IT team to deliver another kind of use case. And you probably saw before the Google Cloud Next 2024, there were our CEO, Nicolas Hieronymus, on stage at the CES Las Vegas, in January 2024.
Yep.
At the opening session of the CES Las Vegas. So it was the first time in the entire history of the CES where a CEO from a non-tech company was opening the keynote of this big tech event, which is the CES. And so our CEO presented the Beauty Genius. So it's an app developed on the GenAI services, but consumer-faced for the US market, for the L'Oréal Paris brand, where people can ask questions on their daily routines and so on. So it was one of our big first announcement, because for us it was pretty good. L'Oréal GPT was live in December 2023, so after 3 months of development.
Jeez.
And another app was presented by our CEO in the CES. And so we said to Google, we absolutely need to go on stage at Google Next Las Vegas in April 2024 to tell our story. And we were very happy to discover that we were selected to be on stage with Steven Giannini, which is the global head of serverless at Google Cloud Platform, and with Harrison Chase, which is the CEO of LangChain. And the fun part, before I give you the mic, because I speak too much. I'm a French guy.
No, this is fantastic. Très bien. Continue.
And for the fun fact, I never gone to this kind of event before, and so I discovered the American way of doing stuff.
Yeah,
Showcase.
a little different.
Show must go on. And so it was in Las Vegas, in the Venetian Convention Center. And they said to me, the people are preparing everything. They give you the room where you are presenting and so on. And they said, you will be in the ballroom number A. I said, okay, ballroom. I don't know what it is, but the name seems to be nice.
Yeah.
And so, before going to go on stage, the day before, you have to do the checkups, with the computer, with microphones and so on. And we've gone to the room, and then you enter the room, and it's huge. The American side, XXL rooms.
You're like, oh.
Oh, there is a lot of people that will be listening to me. And so, at that time, there were a lot of seats, the empty room. And the woman, which was helping me prepare myself, she said, so the topic you are presenting might be a very important one for Google because you have the biggest room of the convention. And I said, okay, how many people will be in the room? She said there are 500 seats, but we can have 500 people also underfoot. And the night before the speech, I was in my room, in the toilets, saying, why the hell I decided to go to Las Vegas?
It's like, uh-oh.
Because I will be on stage with the CEO of LangChain, with the head of serverless on Cloud1, and myself, an unknown guy, speaking on behalf of L'Oréal, in front of many people. And the video will be recorded and then displayed on YouTube. And so I said to my buddies, I did a mistake.
No. You became famous,
Yeah, probably. And so this is the story of L'Oréal GPT and the GenAI as a service.
I love that story, and I still can't get over. I remember, and I think I shared this with you when we spoke, one of the times, but that literally was the most popular or highest engagement post I think I've published in the last 18 months, give or take, across LinkedIn and so on and so forth. Because most people at that time, if we take ourselves back, people found it hard to believe, right? Because give or take 18 months ago, in this outrageously fast moving AI ecosystem, that felt like, I don't know, right? Is that really? And then when you guys delivered the message, and as you described it, it just was unbelievable. And I think I guess it begs the question, and I know that you had a lot of support, you've got a great team and leadership, et cetera, but taking one step back and looking at it from a kind of a third-party perspective, today, so many businesses that are big businesses, mid-sized businesses, everyone's trying to kind of do what you did 18 months ago. You all did, you and your team. Do you have any thoughts on this notion of businesses trying to become more AI first and businesses trying to replicate aspects of what you all were able to achieve? And were there any, key learnings along the way that helped you all be as successful as you've been able to be in that kind of change? Because this is a different type of technology. AI is not traditional software. It's not as linear or as deterministic and whatnot. So I'll leave it there for you to react to. Thomas, is like, what would you say to those that are trying to lead and operationalize their AI first ambitions?
Yeah, and to give you a fun fact, about, people are really eager to understand what the market is doing, what the others are doing, what should we do. And so to continue on the story of the Google Next,
Yeah.
we went back home, we continued our work and so on. And so we will discuss later about what we did and what are the evolutions of what we've done. But this year, so we came back to Google Next to present the evolution of the Gen AI as a service to an agentic platform, and we will speak about it later.
Nice.
And at the end of the session, people came to us, as always, they want to better understand what you have said or ask questions and so on. And we had 3 guys from Kraft Heinz, the ketchup company. And so I give a kudo to them if they are listening the podcast. But they came to us and they said, we were last year listening to you with Harrison and Steven on stage on the Gen AI as a service plus L'Oreal GPT. And we came back to Las Vegas, to Canada, and we said to our management, we must follow this, this is what we must do. And so they did it too.
Nice.
And once they discovered that they were again on stage on Google Cloud Next 2025, they asked to their management to buy the tickets to be able to come to see us. And so, and it's fun because, we showed them the way. And so those guys, they came to us to tell us the story, to say, okay, we have learned new stuff. We now know where to go now, because we have followed you last year. We know where you are today, and we know that we should go this way too. And those guys, I really thank them because you feel the impact that you can have in this kind of events. And probably if one guy came to us to say this, probably more and more other people, have followed our lead. And so I don't know if I am answering to your question.
You are, yeah.
It's to say that everyone is looking at everyone to say what should be the next move, or what must be the next move. And we started 2 years ago when nothing were available, more or less, except LangChain at the very, very early stage.
Yeah.
And so we built everything ourselves on top of LangChain. And so everything we did is completely homemade. Thanks to talented people, high motivation. You also have this feeling of creating something very important for the company. The wonderful stuff with Gen AI, it's like, the iPhone moment. Everyone is starting from zero. You don't arrive in a field that already exists.
Yeah.
And so every company starts from zero. Even if you were doing previously machine learning or classic machine learning, it's a new field. So it's a new field to play with. And so every company in this world, no matter the kind of stuff they're doing, manufacturing, retail, and so on, everyone is starting and learning from scratch. And this is where you can express yourself and say, okay, I will follow this path. But is this path the right one? Because finally, if I don't follow the good one, it can be damageable for my company. And so we decided to have our own way. When we go to Google Cloud or when we discuss with other companies, we see that we are pretty advanced on the topic. But also by developing ourselves in 2 years, we start to be a bit late. Because my team is only composed of 5 people, which internal people and then some external headcounts. Plus people, in countries, in zones and so on that are expanding and leveraging it. But we say, okay, we must be able to do a pause on the marathon, the marathon we are running, and to say, okay, should we still continue building everything ourselves with our motivation and engagement, or should we start to use off-the-shelf stuff that are provided by bigger players? And by bigger players, I think about CSPs, Google, Microsoft, AWS, or even Alibaba in China. Now they are providing capabilities that are much more advanced than what we've done until now. And so, as a leader, you must be able to accept the fact that the baby you've built was wonderful, but now you have to reinvent the baby to continue making him grow, Say, okay, now I will feed the baby not only with milk, but with stuff that I will buy. And so I will buy probably ADK from Google. I will probably buy also Vertex AI agent engine from Google, because those stuff are built by hundreds of engineers in the Silicon Valley or somewhere else. And so, of course, they will be faster and better than me with my 5 guys. And so at some point, you have this inflection point where you must be able to accept that what you've done in the past was wonderful, but if you want to continue, being like this, you have to accept to reinvent yourself. And we see a lot of people, even internally, that are sticking to what they've done, and they're not ready to move. And it's a question also of mindset in the change management to say, okay, I'm not a perfect guy. I have to follow the trends. If the trend is going this way and we're going this way, probably we're wrong. And so we have to accept the fact that we must reinvent ourselves to continue following the trends and always being the best.
I love that answer, and there's so many directions I could potentially go. I do want to ask one specific question. How much better do you think you all are at identifying, what to continue to build yourself versus what to pull off the shelf from the GCPs and so on and so forth of the world, because you've been building homegrown and building it, your own, on your own, versus if you hadn't done that? Like, does that make sense? Does it inform the way that you see what to buy and what to build and so on and so forth? Or is it really not necessarily something that perhaps sharpens your ability to figure out what to buy versus build?
Yeah. It's complex to have a legacy.
Yeah.
Because finally the legacy is the legacy and you have to live with it. And to give you some KPIs on L'Oréal GPT, we have 60K unique users, 45K of them are coming back every month, and 15K of them are coming on a daily basis.
Wow.
So every day we have 15,000 unique users sending messages. And so you can imagine the millions of messages they can send into the platform.
Yeah.
On a monthly basis or an annual basis. We also created what we call, the companions into L'Oréal GPT, which is, for the fun story, agents. But as always, as we were very early in the journey, we said, okay, we must be able to give to the people the ability to personalize L'Oréal GPT for their own business or for their own personal use cases, And so, what if we call that agent? And people from HR told us, no, don't call that agent. Because it will for everyone. The agent is something that will replace you at some point. So we will call it companions. Because companions is something that will help you being an augmented employee. And so this is why we call that companions at L'Oréal, but finally it's agents. And today, we have 8 or 9,000, so 9K companions in L'Oréal GPT.
Wow.
Created by the employees themselves or created by the business. Because the idea that we have, and so I'm a bit deviating from your question, but I will go back to it after. We have a strategy that to say we should have a top to bottom strategy. The business driving big complex agents or companions inside L'Oréal GPT doing RAG and so on, or text SQL and so on. So the business is driving the way for the employees. But it's not enough. And the employees themselves, the ground floor, might be able to create wonderful flowers, and that we will scale then as a business stuff. And so we have this top to bottom and bottom up strategy where each and everyone is empowered to create his own personal companion that he will be able to share to his colleagues at some point, and then to be able to make it as a business one to the entire company if the value is proven, So you have everyone involved in the journey to say, from the business at the very high level deciding from the use cases, to the end user deciding from his own value, we have this. So we have a huge legacy. And so, as we have built everything ourselves, it works very well and so on, but we have to make it evolve, with auto-evaluation, LLM as a judge, everything and everything. Everything is working today, but we have built everything. And now Google is coming to say, okay, you have Vertex AI auto-evaluation. Why are you building auto-evaluation by yourself? I said, yeah, but we have customized it because of our own needs. We tailor-made everything. But at some point, we have spent so many days of people developing the capability, while now you have off-the-shelf APIs on GCP. You have to think and say, okay, probably I will lose a bit of my tailor-made stuff, but for the sake of less run, so more sleep, and probably the same cost. And so what we are doing today, to answer your question, we are starting a study on agentic platform. To move the Gen AI services, which was finally a bunch of APIs, allowing you to do agents, multi-agents, attach an MCP server to an agent, putting these agents discoverable into L'Oréal GPT and so on, with millions of API calls every month, with dozens of use cases in addition to L'Oréal GPT, to a true agentic AI platform. So, okay, we move from services to platform. People have to understand that it's not a bunch of services developed by someone we don't know. It's a real platform, like a data platform that we have at L'Oréal since 5 years, the Beauty Tech data platform. Now we are creating the Beauty Tech agentic AI platform. And this platform, we are doing it in 2 steps. The first one is functionally speaking, what's an agentic AI platform? What should have an agentic platform? Models, tools, guardrails, agents, knowledge, discoverability, marketplace, to be able to discover the MCP servers, discover the agents, and so on. And so we've done this, and in each of these big functional bricks, we said, okay, what should we have? For example, inside agents, you must be able to orchestrate agents, optimize agents, evaluate and score agents, and so on and so on. And now that we have this functional picture, which will lead the way for the next 2 or 3 years, we are mapping right now for each of the features, should we continue making or should we buy? And so we are assessing right now where we go. And if we buy, why do we buy? And what is the trade-off? Because when you buy, you probably pay a little bit more, but you develop less. So finally, the trade-off can be okay, and so on. So this is what we are doing right now. And next year will be the year of the migration, from the Gen AI as a service to agentic platform without breaking L'Oréal GPT, because, as we like to say, we have a skyrocket flying, and we have to change the engine while flying, and we don't want the rocket to explode. We are not doing a Starship. And so we don't want it to explode, because when we have one rocket, we don't have two. And so this is what's beautiful in the job. And compared to previous IT classic stuff, previously in IT, you were starting a project, you were studying for months.
Yeah.
If we come back to 5 or 10 years ago, and then you build for 10 years. You buy a huge software for 10 years. Now with Gen AI, you have to accept, and agentic AI even more, you have to accept to buy for 2 years. and then to completely reinvent yourself, because we were speaking about machine learning. Now, 2 years ago, we start to talk about Gen AI. And now, 2 years later, we spoke about agentic AI. And the next move will be automation, probably. And so people are already jumping from agentic to automation. And it was a matter of at least 1 year. And so the agility and the speed of the market is increasing at a very high velocity. And you have to accept, as a CIO, for example, to buy stuff that you can trash very fast.
Yes, and also rely on, right? And have that confidence. I think one of the things you said there, Thomas, that I would love for you to unpack just a little bit more is let's just say, 5 years ago, that was an era of deterministic software as a service, very traditional, and as you said, you could map out a game plan and maybe have a 5+ year vision and roadmap, and knock it down. And now we're in this world that is very different, and you all have successfully. It sounds like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you all have quite successfully made that transition, or are making that transition, which allows you to have a little bit of a different mindset, a little bit of a different pace. You mentioned some stuff about some top-down strategy and some bottoms-up strategy. And for those that are listening, because I imagine there will be people that will hear you and will be so excited and be like, oh my gosh, I wish Thomas was on our team, because we're frustrated. We've got folks that are living in a world of decision making that no longer exists. We can't seem to convince them of that. They're too senior to alter their kind of vision. But I guess the question, it's a long-winded way of providing you some context. How do you advise, generally speaking, other people to capture that mindset shift that you all have clearly and are continuing to evolve? I'm sure you've got pockets where it's challenging, but how do people do that? How do you move into this new AI mindset that enables this type of decision-making velocity and execution velocity?
It's a complex question. And you like we say in French, the mayonnaise have worked within the team, probably by some magic, but not to sell just magic. You need to have the mandate first. So you need to have the mandate of your CIO and your management to say, okay, you are the guys that will do this. But you never do this alone, because always you can go fast alone, but you won't go far.
Mm-mm.
And you will probably be less faster as a team, but you will go much longer and far. And so it's very complex, and it needs to have people that are very motivated, very eager to learn, and with a bit of mandate, but not to be seen as pirates by the company. More like corsair. Good pirates.
Good pirates, yeah, fast-moving pirates, but good pirates.
It's always the biggest complexity, because let's imagine L'Oréal, we have 5,000 or 6,000 IT employees around the world.
Wow.
And my team is composed of 5 talented guys, young guys, plus me, less young, but talented a bit too.
Less young.
Start to have gray hair since I worked in Agentic AI.
That's the way it goes.
But a lot of every time you have the feeling that you have to carry the entire company with you, because you always have people that have a word to say. Particularly in France, we love to debate. We cannot move before 1, 2, or 3 meetings of debate. And sometimes you have to play the American, a bit. To say, okay, I will go to debate, but I already did the stuff. So we debate for the beautiful debate, but
the art of the debate, although the decision was already made.
Yeah, because the decision making, particularly in French companies, is long. And so you have to accept it and to embrace it while being a corsair, because you know that if you are listening to each and everyone, you won't be able to move. And so you have to move with the respect of all the people, because on Gen AI and particularly tomorrow with Agentic AI, you have a lot of fears around cybersecurity, trustworthy AI. So you have to put in place stuff that can be trusted by the employees and also by the external people, because L'Oréal is looked by everyone on the planet. L'Oréal have been awarded this year as, I think, the most innovative company in Europe.
Wow.
And so people are looking at you. And so internally speaking, I spoke about cyber and trustworthy AI, which are very important topics. But you also have cybersecurity, data privacy, data protection, ethics, and also all the unions that you have to speak with, because L'Oréal GPT, if I speak only about L'Oréal GPT, is transforming the ways of working of the employees. And so you have powerful unions in countries, particularly France, Germany, and everywhere around the world, that wants to understand what you do with the data of the employees. Because an employee sending a prompt on L'Oréal GPT, it's a personal data of the employee. And so are people looking at what employees are sending? And so we have always to answer to those questions, to say, okay, to reassure people, to say, nobody is looking at your prompts. No statistics are done with what you are writing to the L'Oréal GPT. Nobody at L'Oréal knows what is the use in terms of qualitative metrics. We have all the quantitative metrics, number of users, models that they use, and so on, but we don't know what they say. We don't know what they use L'Oréal GPT for. And for this, you have to build the trust with all those guys for them to allow you to move. Because if you are acting pirates from day one, people will block you. People are powerful, and everyone can block you very fast. And so you need to have the mandate, the wild card, saying, I have the wild card, don't disturb me. But in the same time, to be collaborative enough with all those guys, because at the end, those guys can make you have a terrible life. And so if you want to have a good life, I don't say it's easy. It's very difficult at some point.
Good, hard, but hard, but good.
But it's the art of the negotiation. And you have to debate, negotiate, move a bit. Sometimes when you see an opportunity to go a bit beyond the possibility, and you can go a bit, without asking, but you know that it won't be dramatic, So you have to find this right balance between being the perfect guy, following all the rules, but never innovating, and the opposite, which is the pirate, innovating a lot, but that everybody hates and that everybody tries to kill because you are not a good guy. So finding this right balance is very complex. And this is, I think, why we succeed at L'Oréal today. It's because we love playing that game. Particularly, I love playing that game of the politics plus the little bit of piratery, but always knowing my limits, in terms of piratery. And of course, we need to have the mandate, because if you don't have the mandate, it's impossible.
Yeah, that's a tremendous answer. And I want to be respectful of time here. And so maybe this is last question or in the realm of it. I would love for you, and I don't know if this is a fair question, but if you were to think about where things are going to be in 6, 12 months, I know that's a long way away in this world of AI that we're in, but what are some initiatives or some projects that are tied to the conversation we're having here or otherwise that you're especially excited about, and kind of where do you think things are headed that might surprise people, or just what kind of, with the pirate in you, right? The good pirate. Where does that good pirate and that innovative drive, we like to call it North Star, like where are you really looking to go in the next 6 to 12 months? And why does that excite you?
Today, if I speak only for L'Oréal, we work a lot on Gen AI for the augmented employee. The employee is augmented thanks to technology to be clever, I would say. Because finally, L'Oréal GPT is helping you being clever. Either if you translate an email, summarize a huge PDF of 100 pages, or helping you, creating content for Amazon and so on, it makes you clever in that sense. It helps you finding the information you weren't able to find or that you will struggle to find. You have new fields now, which are of two kinds. It's the save money thanks to Gen AI or Agentic AI, or make money. And so as L'Oréal, as we are, embracing the trustworthy AI and so on, we focus more on the augmented employee. So how to boost the productivity of the employee and how to make more money. Of course, our partners and consulting companies, they all want to sell us, the magic of 100% automation, zero FTE department, save money and so on. But as L'Oréal, as a French company, taking care of his employees, we don't want to embrace that world as of now. And we prefer to say, okay, our employees are our most precious, diamonds, and we must help them being even better. And on the other side, how can we make more money with Gen AI and Agentic AI? It can be, for example, a very simple companion into L'Oréal GPT that takes a brief for a marketing brief, for a new product launch, and that will generate you the perfect PDP for Amazon, Boots, and so on. And by doing this, you're not replacing an employee. You are just creating better PDP for Amazon that will boost the turnover of this product. And sometimes, very small companions or agents can deliver huge value for the employee or for the business. And we try, to stop a bit this oversell from the consulting companies and so on about saving money, replacing employees, automation of everything, and so on. It will probably exist at some point, the automation, but this is not what we focus on. Sometimes small stuff brings a lot of value, and sometimes big stuff will bring even bigger value, but we are on this. And yes, of course, we are moving from Gen AI to Agentic AI because agents will be there for the employees. We do think from the very beginning of their journey, the morning, until the end of their day. And for example, and the simplest one is when you start the day and you are stuck in the traffic jam with your car, because in Paris, there is a lot of traffic jam, unfortunately. And what if asking L'Oréal GPT by voice, can you do a summary of all the emails I didn't wrote yesterday and create me a podcast based on this and play the podcast when I drive? And so you have the full resume of your previous day that you weren't able to manage. Or you can also say, okay, not that I have this info, what about the trends on the market, the stocks and so on? What about the geopolitical stuff and so on? And so you start your day with L'Oréal GPT and you finish your day with L'Oréal GPT to prepare the next day, for example. And so we really think that the employee will be completely assisted by AI through text or voice, or even with video by camera, from the entire journey. And today we know that L'Oréal GPT is used by a lot of people, but probably on specific tasks on their journey. And what we are working on is mapping the different, kind of business people. You have the sales rep, GQ advisors, IT guys, marketing guys, and so on. And when in their day are they using L'Oréal GPT? Probably only 10% of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so what about making something that they will use 100% of the day? And how to go that way? In the idea of empowering them, you know. So this is where we, as a societal company, you know, we want to go.
I love that, and I'm sure all your people feel great about that too, right? Because I think that augmentation word, which is a big one, and it's one of my favorites, as opposed to automation. There are dimensions of automation that are fantastic for tasks and so on and so forth that, you know, machines are better at, and yada yada. But I love the way you described, you know, enabling the systems to provide, you know, human beings with superpowers, and that example of driving in traffic and having a podcast be put together around all your emails, as opposed to having to be in your phone and, you know, trying to drive and so on and so forth. That's so tangible. So, Thomas, by all means, I just want to say thank you. This is a long time coming, and as I told you, I stand by what I said in the very beginning. I think it's extraordinary what you all have achieved, and you're really leading a lot of different companies and people, and giving folks a lot of inspiration around what's possible. And, you know, keep doing what you're doing. And I want to give you a chance to wrap things up here before we hit end here. But I just want to say thanks again.
Thank you, Alec, for having following me since the beginning. You know, I'm like a superstar now. You know,
You're famous.
You are one of my very first followers, I would say.
Original fans. I'm an original fan. I get backstage when you perform, the big rock star. You know, I'm original.
Yeah, thank you so much for this. Thank you for this opportunity to share our story. And I hope it will make some ideas into some brains.
It will.
Brains, human brains.
Human brains. It will. Thomas, thanks so much. And we'll hopefully have you on again sometime soon.
Thank you.
Au revoir.